Worldwide death toll on coronavirus. It's 9,285. So we've gone over 9,000 worldwide deaths for the first time. That's about 300 people in the last 2 hours. So I'm going to do a little math here when I get a chance and figure out how many people have died of the flu and how fast that count is mounting. Just to have a comparison. I'm curious about stuff like that. 808, speaking of stuff you're curious about, Alex, we're always curious to find out what you've been sampling over from Bottle Bar.
What have I been sampling? Of course I've been sampling. What else is there to do? I tried a wonderful bourbon-aged Cabernet from Stav and Steel from Bottle Barn. Oh, my gosh. It was fabulous.
Did you say bourbon-aged?
Bourbon-aged. Yeah, you know what that is? They use American oak barrels that have been toasted, charred, and drenched in Kentucky bourbon, Kevin.
Yes.
And they age the wine in that for 4 months, and that'll give you layers of complexity, depth, and flavor. Oh, is it good stuff?
I wish I could get some layers of complexity, depth, and flavor.
Right. Seriously. This is
my
from Bottle
kind of
Barn.
wine.
It's got flavors of dark cherry, blackberry, and plum. It's got a nice finish of vanilla, caramel, and spice, and it is fabulous. You're definitely going to want to try this.
Doesn't sound good or anything.
Yeah, right? And you can enjoy this with, cheese and crackers, of course, steak, ribeye, lamb, poultry, all that kind of stuff. It is absolutely fabulous. And it's the wine of the week over at Bottle Barn. You can pick it up at South University Drive in Fargo or the Veterans Boulevard store.
Okay.
And they want you to know, though, that the team at Bottle Barn Liquors is thankful for your business, and they want you to keep you and your loved ones safe at this time. But definitely, if you're looking for any kind of wine at all, go over there. Whatever you like. If you like it dry, you like it sweet, they will point you in the right direction. Can't go wrong with Bottle Barn.
Have we got a price on that bad boy?
I do not want.
Okay. It's they're free. It's free. And what's it called, though?
It's
called the
Stav and Steel.
Stav and Steel
Cabernet.
Okay.
Bourbon barrel
Sounds good.
aged.
Go
and that's
check it
the
out.
latest trend, yeah.
And
whatever the price is, it'll be worth it.
As you're social distancing, swing in there with your growlers. They'll fill those up, too.
Yeah,
exactly.
There you go.
Stock up for sure.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, Alex. 809, Need to Know Morning Show. Hey, Barry Maring is here.
$13.99 is the sale price.
Okay, very good.
Killer deal.
Yeah, and it's great stuff.
We are talking about right at home, and Barry is the guy. And I'm so glad you're here, Barry, because we've been hearing so much about coronavirus and that it is something that can affect the elderly, those with underlying health conditions. So as we think about this, I think during the winter and even the early spring, like we're always keeping track of things and keeping mom and dad, grandma and grandpa safe if they're living with us. But with something like this, what are some of the extra things we want to think about in terms of keeping them safe at home?
Well, I think the big thing, and thanks for having me. I think the big thing is, we're talking about, and in worst case, you're seeing in New York City and so forth, they're having this shelter in place. And I think the big thing is just to keep the exposure down for them, so keep them at home if possible, and then, have a loved one or a caregiver go out and maybe do the shopping for them and stuff like that, because, they've been showing now that if they do get it, they have a much higher chance of serious complications and deaths. Yeah. So just isolation, keep them at home, try to keep travel down to a minimum.
What are some ways that we can get, because, we all get a little stir crazy once in a while, and certainly the same is true if we've got folks who are living with us, your mom or dad or grandparents living with us. What are some things we can do to get them out and get a little sunshine when the sun is out, just get them out of the house for a little bit? We know that we don't want them interacting a lot with other people, but there's got to be some things we can do to help, just change the course of the day a little bit, isn't there?
Yeah, I would say you can just get out and do walks and do different things too. Now that places are closing down, I think the mall was shutting down today at 5 or something like that.
Yeah, 6 o'clock.
6, okay. Yeah. So obviously that's not going to work. You're not going to be able to walk in the mall. But I would say, if you're by yourself or with a caregiver or, with a loved one or family member, you can go walking. I think it's probably healthy to get out, as long as you're by yourself or just with a small group. Just stay away. We've had to cancel. We had our kind of quote unquote late Christmas party where we're going to do this Sunday. We're going to postpone that. And it's just, it is. You can get out and do stuff. Just don't be around people.
I have a question. What about the interaction with other people? Elderly people tend to get lonely anyway and isolated. A walk by themselves is not going to do it. A lot of them go to church and they have church groups or things like that. But now a lot of the churches are closing and they're scared to go to these places. What can we do? Phone calls? What is there?
Yeah, depending on how tech savvy they are, some know a little bit how to do some of that video conferencing, and again, any agency, if, maybe you can have a family member come over and spend some more time with them. Our caregivers can, at least talk to them and do things and stuff with them. But yeah, I'd say phone calls, videos, some they have this stuff set up, but at a minimum, just get them on the phone and talk to them, because they are going to get depressed. It's hard. They do it anyway. Now with all this bad news and negative news and stuff, they're probably
really scared because they're the primary age group.
Yes. Yeah. So again, I love the governor's thing. Facts, not fear. Just try to do the best you can. You've got to kind of live your life, but you don't want to put yourself at unnecessary risk. So, and that goes with anybody, but especially the older people. So keep the conversation going, keep communicating. They can go outside, just you don't want to be in large crowds. Getting out and doing a walk is probably a great thing. Now there's, I could almost not see driving in now this morning because it was freezing and sticking to my windshield. So it's probably a little slippery and so forth. So be careful, but they can get out and do stuff. You just don't want to have them be around crowds and other people.
That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
So April coming up here, boy, it's amazing how fast April's sneaking up on us, just another week and a half or so. But April is Parkinson's disease awareness month. Tell us about Parkinson's and when it's worth thinking to yourself, maybe these symptoms I see with mom or dad, grandma, maybe it's Parkinson's. What do we look for?
We unfortunately are seeing more and more Parkinson clients, and I don't know if they're just diagnosing it a little bit more, but they're saying that, diagnosed cases will double, here in the next, I don't know if it's 10 years or something like that. So you'll start to notice they're going to start potentially having some tremors. They might, it could be even more mental or brain related too. They might be forgetting some things, almost like Alzheimer's type things. They might starting to have difficulty swallowing. You might notice in their posture and their demeanor, they could be slouching a little bit. And there's just these basic symptoms. So I would say, like you said, April is Parkinson's Awareness Month. And it's just good to know it's typically an elderly type disease. It isn't always, but if you start noticing some of these symptoms and especially like I said, some of the tremors and different things too, you're getting a little off balance.
Yes.
Stuff like that. Definitely go in and get checked.
Yeah. Good advice there. How is Parkinson's diagnosed?
Well, it's interesting. It's kind of similar to Alzheimer's. There is a science to it, but it's also not an exact science in a sense where you might have multiple things. You could have Alzheimer's and Parkinson's at the same time. You could have all kinds of different stuff. So they go to your doctor. They'll probably send you to a neurologist, and they'll go through these battery of tests. They'll see how your motor skills are looking. And then, of course, they'll do a brain scan, too, and then they can start to tell just kind of how your brain is set up.
Yeah.
Maybe you are starting to experience some things, and they can tell by the brain scan.
As family members, how do we help with this if we, a new case or new diagnosis, and this is now a reality for our family? What can we do?
Well, I would say first go to Parkinsons.org. They're a great organization. They're a wealth of knowledge. I sit on a local advisory board here, too, for that. And there's tons of resources out there. So you just, you're not isolated. There are organizations and people willing to help. There's a lot of things you can do outside of the home, like exercising and nutrition are a big deal for anybody, but for Parkinson's especially. So we encourage them to get out and do a thing like what's called rock steady boxing.
Yeah.
That gets their motor skills going and their balance better. It's shown incredible results. So, and everybody goes, they're a little reluctant maybe to go there, but once they go there, we had a client we had to basically drag there, and once he got there, he absolutely loved it.
I bet.
So he's seen good results from it.
Good.
Yeah.
Your company does exactly what we're talking about here. You have providers that will go into the home and help take care. Are you still able to do what you do?
Yes. With everything going on, if anything, it's become even more important, to keep them at home basically and try to not expose them. So if you're worried about it or any of those families out there, you want to just keep mom or dad at home, which we would recommend. And, so does the CDC and everybody at the moment. It's a good thing to keep them at home and just try not to expose them to all this stuff. But yeah, we do all these things, and nothing really changes in our approach to it because everyone has kind of got similar common things. So like if it's Parkinson's, we can take them to their appointments, take them to these rock steady boxing. They have these things called big exercises like BIG. we can we can help with those while they're doing those at home. There's just all kinds of stuff that our caregivers can help with.
Yeah, very good. How do people get a hold of you, Barry?
Just go to fargohomecare.com
Okay.
and get a hold of us. We've got caregivers ready to go and to help your family's loved ones.
Great information and stuff we need to hear at times like this. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Barry Mehring, he is the owner of Right at Home, helping take care of all those needs in the home, and take them out once in a while too if you need be. 818.